Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Left at Z channel. I know I have not uploaded in a very, very long time, but I don't really want to address it. Basically, I learned I was trans. I think the last video I made, I was still in the closet, but a lot has happened in the last little while. Maybe I'll make a video on it later, but honestly, right now, I kind of just want to make content. And yeah, also, you probably are noticing I'm not showing my face. Instead, you are watching some Overwatch 2 content. Um, yeah, this is an attempt to hopefully make it easier for myself to make videos. We will see how it works. I don't know. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm just hoping maybe it's a little bit easier if I don't have to make myself camera ready every time I want to make a video. So instead, you're gonna watch some video games while I talk. And today all we're doing is just reacting to a relatively short video here from Arielle Scarcella. I've vaguely heard of this person, however, I've never actually watched her. However, I decided as my first video back, maybe it would make sense to just Google, or not Google, but look up on YouTube trans and just see what comes up. And I was surprised to see how much decent stuff there was. A lot of it was just explanatory content, and there's some great videos out there. However, Arielle Scarcella, some of her videos came up. Also, no way I'm not going to trip over her name every time I say it. Either way, today we're just watching a video called Girl Dick Trans Mafia is Back, hashtag save the lesbians. Just briefly going through her channel, it seems like she's lesbian, which great for her, honestly, pog. But I'm thinking that this is going to be some quite transphobic stuff going on here. Unfortunately, there is some transphobia within the LGBT community as well. There's a big movement to remove the T, right? So we're going to address that and point out how it makes no goddamn sense. And yeah, let's just start the video.
It is about that time. Lesbians are now the most oppressed people in the LGBT community. People don't even think that we are a real orientation anymore.
Sorry to stop this right away, but this is just ridiculous. Like, I feel like she has to know this is ridiculous as well. First of all, this is not the Oppression Olympics. Why are we trying to say that one group of people is more oppressed than any other? It really is not helpful. People are oppressed in different ways, for sure. And I would attest that trans people face a lot more outward oppression just because they can't fly under the radar quite as much. Especially if you don't pass, it's like every single day of your life you are trans versus if you're a lesbian and not in a relationship. I mean, there's nothing that outwardly says that you're lesbian. All that to say, lesbians are oppressed too. Everyone in the LGBT community is oppressed. And by the way, when I say that, I mean everyone in the LGBTQ plus spectrum, everyone under that, you two asexuals. Anyway, to get back on with the point, she's just ridiculous, and already I'm thinking she doesn't even buy her own shit. She's probably just catering to the crowd.
People don't even think that we are a real orientation anymore. Plus, we have the
People don't think we are a real orientation anymore? Who? So many of these, reactionary people, talk about talk about someone else, an out group. It's based off of putting or creating an in-group and an out-group. Don't know anyone that doesn't see lesbian as a gender or as a sexual orientation. I actually myself consider myself lesbian, so I don't know. It's so strange.
least amount of people. Arielle, what are you talking about? Lesbians are not oppressed at all. Oppressed from LGBT activists saying that the term lesbian is old-fashioned and problematic, to those same people saying that lesbians should like dicks, since some trans women date women and some trans women have dicks.
I don't think that she's brought up anything that most people actually agree with. On the thing with dicks, which is a interesting topic, I would say that there are a lot of lesbians that are okay with dicks. Like, I've met them. I am them. You know, a lot of people don't necessarily understand that having intimacy with a trans woman is going to still feel very different from having intimacy with a cis man. Like, especially if you're on an HRT, your dick can change quite a lot. So, obviously, if you're a lesbian, you don't have to like trans women. No one's making you, no one's forcing you. If you aren't attracted to people with penises, then, you know, that's your deal. I personally think that genital preference is totally a thing, and, you know, if you don't like a certain set of genitals for whatever reason, like, okay, just don't date people with that kind of genitals. That doesn't mean that lesbians across the board won't want to date trans women, but it's just reminded me of the super straight conversation a long time ago, and it just doesn't make sense. Let's keep going. I'm stopping a lot. I'm sorry.
There have been a number of lesbian nights over the past 5 years that have since then changed their names to queer events to become more inclusive, therefore intentionally or unintentionally becoming actually exclusive. Can I just say that it's very interesting that this kind of stuff only happens in lesbian spaces and not in gay men's spaces? I'm just saying.
I actually think she might be bringing up a good point here. I haven't personally heard about much of this. However, I could definitely see where, you know, lesbians still face misogyny, and, you know, the LGBTQ plus community is still under a patriarchal, it still exists in a patriarchal world. However, I'm also going to guess a lot of these events just are expanding because it makes a lot more sense. Like, I don't know. Having something very specifically about lesbians sounds a little strange to me. Like, why can't it be for all queer people? Like, I feel like the queer umbrella just makes a lot more sense in a lot of these cases. But that isn't to say that, you know, lesbians shouldn't have specific spaces for specifically only lesbian people. But I also feel like a lot of these things are being overblown by Arielle Scarcella here.
Especially in New York City, most lesbian parties are now called queer parties. And I know I might be a little bit biased here because I personally hate the word queer. And a big reason for that is because most of the people that identify with that term are just people who are not same-sex attracted, who do not have gender dysphoria, who are simply just dyeing their hair a different color, painting their nails. Literally, that's it. If I'm on a dating...
I think that's a pretty ignorant way to describe queer people who use the term queer. I feel like, yeah, that's coming from a very outdated place, I think. I can tell that Arielle Scarcella here, I think, is a little bit older than maybe a lot of the queer people that she's talking about. She even put up those videos of, like, some TikTokers, it looks like. But honestly, I don't know. You can't say that they don't experience same-sex attraction and they don't experience gender dysphoria. You don't know what they experience. They might experience those things, they might not. It also doesn't necessarily mean, or you don't necessarily have to experience those things to be queer. You just have to be queer. I don't know. Like, if you don't identify with the gender you were assigned at birth, then you're not cis. If you don't find people of your opposite sex attractive, then you might be queer. But I don't know. It's even more complicated than that. Like, I don't think that you can really... my point is, I think that this gatekeeping doesn't really make sense, and it only hurts the community that, you know, should be fighting against bigger structures than the structures within itself.
And somebody says that they're queer, I literally have no idea what that means anymore. But you know, everyone is all about it because it's woke, And it encompasses a wide range of identities, and it doesn't risk excluding groups that the acronym may leave out. And
if she doesn't like the word queer, she doesn't have to use it, I guess. But I personally really like the word because, I mean, think about how many times conservatives make fun of us for just saying LGBTQAI plus Z, X, Y, A, B, C. You know, you've heard of them say that. And yeah, it's a little bit annoying to be like LGBTQAI plus every single time. You heard me at the start of the video just doing LGBT. And that's why I like queer a lot better, because it's inclusive. But if you don't like it, you don't have to use it. I don't know. She also used the word woke a little while back, which tells me exactly the type of people that she's trying to attract with this video. And generally, they are not good people, I would say. I would say that they're usually quite reactionary and uneducated and hateful even. But let's keep going.
acronym at this point is like LGBTQIAPP plus 2.
Here's some more internet free.
I said it, and then she did it. I'm sorry. I think my mic is also peaking. I turned it down for a little bit, but she did it. See? I'm not right.
To me, the word queer seems way more about politics than sexual orientation or gender identity, or, you know. Honestly, think about it. Have you ever met a queer?
Gender orientation or sexual orientation and gender identity are political, whether you like it or not. They are political things.
Conservative, a queer or non-binary Republican. Like, I know exactly of one non-binary Republican.
Yeah, because the Republicans hate us, and some of them want us dead, and some of them are the incarnations of evil. There's a good reason why a lot of queer people don't like Republicans, because Republicans don't like queer people. And as well, as an oppressed group, you know, the fact that they are so fervently in favor of the status quo, it's just not going to make sense for us to vote for Republicans because it's against our self-interest.
This article that I'm about to read really, really upset me, and a bunch of young women were asked how they feel about the word lesbian, and this is what they had to say. Thoughts on the L word. I decided to ask a few different people what they thought about the word lesbian. A young woman who identified as gay. By the way, I used to identify as gay because I was also ashamed of the word lesbian. This is like 10 years ago, and now I use the word lesbian like it's my second name, which I guess it kind of is in this case. She said that she didn't like the word lesbian because it felt too full on and intense. It is unfortunate that the word lesbian is kind of synonymous with lesbian porn, which is why a lot of homosexual women will call themselves gay and not lesbian. That's definitely one of the reasons I used to. I also chatted with a young...
She's not wrong about that one. Or lesbians in general, in the term, is so much more sexualized than gay, so I totally actually understand that. However, I think that I don't know, let's just hear what else she has to say. At that point, she was right on.
A trans man about it who identified as straight, and he said that the word lesbian reminded him of an older butch woman. His female friend agreed. I found these answers interesting. I find these answers to be homophobic and misogynistic, but to each their own, I guess.
I don't necessarily think they're homophobic or misogynistic. I think they might come from those places, but I think there's also just, you know, stereotypes and ways that words can be socialized within a culture or giving context within a culture that is misogynistic and homophobic. So, you know, I on this point, I really understand where she's coming from, and I do think that there is a problem that needs to be addressed even within the queer community when it comes to cis lesbians.
And now, Reddit has banned lesbians. Like, actually banned discussing what lesbians think of lesbians and what lesbian means to them. Like, you can't do it on Reddit anymore.
That's like kind of incorrect. Let me go to Reddit real quick. Reddit.com. Like, I know that the r/lesbians is porn. Again, a big issue. But I think if you go to r/lesbians, actually, where is it? Lesbian. I spelled lesbian wrong. Man, maybe I am homophobic. Lesbian, actually, yeah, there's like, how many people are online? I don't know. Some people posted 5 hours ago, 4 hours ago, 8 hours ago. There's lots of people on here. There is just a lot of people saying hey with a nice picture of themselves, but that's not a problem. It's definitely active though. So yeah, I don't know what she's talking about.
First of all, if you go to reddit.com/lesbians, it's literally just lesbian porn. I do want to give a quick shout out to supposedly the straight men that created this lesbians page, because they actually do seem to give a shit about real lesbians. They actually give a little shout out on the right side of their page for lesbians like myself who want a forum to discuss topics, and instead, of course, got porn. See, straight dudes aren't that bad. It's really just the queer people that are annoying the hell out of me these days. A place for discussions for and by cis and trans lesbians, bisexual girls, chicks who like chicks, bi-curious folks, dykes, butches, femmes, blah, 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 blah. Can we not have anything to ourselves? I can't help but notice though, whenever I go to other, like most lesbian pages on any forum and any social networking site, they are either not for actual lesbians, like because they're usually like porn, or they will have a shit ton of other sexual orientations and gender identities listed as people that are also welcome. But on Reddit,
I think that the main idea a lot of these pages are going for is that they're welcoming in a broad range of people to talk about their experience with, you know, a certain type of attraction, a type of attraction that a lot of people feel and not just lesbians feel. I think that's maybe something she's starting to get hung up on, is that just a bisexual woman, for example, can relate to a lesbian woman in that they both feel attraction to women. And, you know, just because a page, a discussion forum opens that up to people doesn't mean that it's, that it's being taken over or that lesbians aren't welcome in their own space. I just think that the space is a little bit broader than she might initially think.
specifically, which is fucking infuriating. If
you don't like Reddit, just get off Reddit, lady.
That if anybody was to mention that lesbianism is for female homosexuals, you get banned. The group gets banned. I found an article on this that proves these claims and has them documented. We got the receipts, bitch! This says, there are now no lesbian...
Let's read what she's pulled up here. There are now no lesbian forums allowed on Reddit that are exclusively for lesbians. You must exclude men claiming to be lesbians and let them talk about their penis endlessly in your lesbian forum, or you will be banned. You cannot post right-wing and LGBT, or you will be banned. You cannot wish to organize purely as LGB, or you will be banned. So let's go through this point by point real quick. No, you must let men claiming to be lesbians, which they're talking about trans women there, so right off the bat, transphobic. I'm sorry. That's just like, no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, that's just transphobic. You are saying that trans women are men, and that is transphobic just on itself. And also, I don't really know of any trans lesbians that are going on lesbian forums and talking about their penis endlessly. I have not seen that yet. Again, there is a discussion to have here about, genital preferences, and, maybe there is a sense of loss of space for these people that like this person's channel for talking about specifically two people with vaginas that both identify as women coming together and having sex. And I don't know, just because the range of what lesbian means anymore doesn't mean that that's not the main focus most of the time, 98% of the time or whatever. So anyway, let's just keep going.
Forums allowed on Reddit that are exclusively for lesbians. You must include males claiming to be lesbians and let them talk about their penis endlessly in your lesbian forum, or you will be banned. You cannot be right-wing and LGBT, you'll be banned. You cannot wish to organize purely as...
Actually not. You can't be right-wing in LGBT forums. That's kind of based. I kind of like that.
LGB, or you will be banned. And you cannot be gender critical, or you will be banned. If you go on Reddit...
Gender critical, by the way, is a dog whistle for a TERF, a trans exclusionary radical feminist. It just means that they don't like trans women being included under women, which I don't get it. Like, I guess just because your femininity is suddenly being challenged, there's kind of a pushback against what being feminine means, and what being a woman means.
.com/LGBT and proclaim that lesbian sex only involves people who possess vaginas. You will be banned if you claim only for people with penises.
Okay, but that's like factual. If you say that only lesbian sex only occurs when there's two vaginas involved, you're just wrong. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that me having sex with another trans woman is technically still a lesbian relationship, but it is, you know? If you want to challenge how we label things, then you can do that without being transphobic.
You guessed it. You'll be banned, bitch. One of the subreddits that was also banned was True Lesbians. Let's read some comments from members of that group, shall we? It says, literally just a sub for lesbians to talk about being lesbians because Reddit hates homosexuals. Like, fuck. We're really at this point. Somebody said, didn't they ban the only lesbian subs that were focused on being anti-trans? I'm sure there are plenty of other general subs for lesbians. Actually, there's not because they're all banned. Nobody was anti-trans. Lesbians just don't like dick. Full agree. That doesn't mean that anyone is saying trans people can't exist. You can't buy me into liking dick. That's homophobic. I'm not sure what buying me means. You would think in 2021 homophobia would be wrong, but instead it's the whole woke thing.
I don't agree because I'm a lesbian that would be possibly interested in having sex with someone that has a penis. Like, there are lesbians that like dick, and I'm sorry, get over it, I guess.
Lesbians don't like dick, and it's not anti-trans to want to talk about issues that we face individually in our community, in our tiny, tiny community, like literally. Things that only affect us, we're not allowed to talk about. Let's read something else. Somebody said, this is pissing me off. I was a member of that subreddit. We only discussed dating, relationships, and similar lesbian issues. Literally the only lesbian place on Reddit. And somebody said, I swear to God, I'm in shock. There was nothing transphobic or racist or whatever in that subreddit. It was a place for women who love women, who don't want to deal with the girl dick mafia. Can we call them that from now?
The girl dick mafia. Are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. Just because there are other subreddits that wanted to include trans women in lesbian spaces because a lot of them were also interested in trans women because girls are cute no matter what kind of junk they got downstairs. So I just thought it was funny, and you know, you can already see it's. They say that it's not transphobic, but it is. I'm sorry that you don't understand what transphobia is. I guess look it up for yourself. Okay, figure it out for yourself. I can't keep teaching these motherfuckers.
Anyone who's watching this video right now who isn't in shock, I can understand because I feel like the only people that see this every day are lesbians. And I think the majority that watch me now are actually something other than lesbians. It's different than it was years ago. We'll just say that.
Again, this is kind of funny that she just mentioned that it's different than what it was years ago because I think that's kind of a little hint of what really is going on here. It's different, and she's gotten a little bit older, so she started to get a little bit more conservative, and you know, now she gets to be the one that can hate on other people, whereas before she was getting hate on, and she probably still is getting hate on as a lesbian woman, but now she gets to kind of punch down herself a little bit. I'm not saying that she's doing it on purpose, but I'm also not saying that she's not doing it.
Another person in shock here. Why is it hateful or transphobic for lesbians to want their own space?
She also skipped over it said cisgender lesbians in the comment. And that comment is right, at least in that statement, that, you know, cisgender lesbians, maybe there is a space for them specifically, but the problem is that group that wants to organize on those bases oftentimes only want to do it for transphobic reasons, and that's where it goes wrong, probably, most of the time. Again, I'm not sure what the reason all of these Reddits were banned was, and really I haven't even necessarily seen it when I myself am following like r/LGBT and r/trans, and
It's not. And people wonder why women are no longer claiming the word lesbian. I mean, it's pretty clear why, because we're not welcome in our own spaces anymore. We can't even have our own spaces. It is seen as a hateful term, it's not taken seriously, and it is sexualized in a way that no other sexual orientation is. In my opinion, a ton of what would have been lesbians years ago are now identifying as queer and non-binary, and I really, really, truly, deeply believe in my heart that this is one of the reasons why. This is a major reason.
Again, I think that you can't really say why people chose queer over lesbian. And she also said queer or non-binary, which you can be a non-binary lesbian, you know. That's like a thing, and I know many of them. Again, myself. But she just, I don't know. She's really kind of trying to push something that it's not happening. She wants to be oppressed more than she is, and I'm not sure why. Well, actually, I do know why. It's because she wants to finally punch down.
Why. A lot of it, from what I have seen, is people just not conforming to gender roles or gender expectations, which homosexual people have been doing for years already. So why are we like throwing a new label on it? The only reason for that would be to be more welcome in the world. But you know, new labels can make somebody appear more oppressed, more special, I guess. People love that shit these days.
I don't think that's the reason why people choose terms like queer. It's because they feel like it's more accurate. I don't know. She's just really trying to sell this idea that queer and non-binary is the problem, gay and lesbian is not the problem. Almost like trying to save herself by trying to point the finger in a different direction, in the direction of the new crowd, quote unquote, the younger people that have suddenly started to take up this new trend. And it's just, you know, a formula at this point for conservatives to do something like that. Just point out something new that they don't like, that they don't understand, and say it's bad. It's bad, and we don't like it because it challenges the status quo and the comfort that we have in the society with where we are privileged.
I also think that it has a lot more to do with there being more of a community online for trans-identifying people and non-binary people and queer people than lesbians, because literally, like I just said, this whole video, lesbian-only forums, lesbian-only dating apps, everything now has to be super inclusive. We can't have even one dating app to ourselves.
She might have a point on that. Maybe there are queer dating apps that should incorporate genital preference, I guess. But honestly, I feel like most of the time people say they're trans in their bio, and if you aren't interested in a trans person, you know, just swipe left on them. It's not that big of a deal. I get guys randomly in my dating apps, and you know, I don't like guys, so I just swipe left on them. It's, you know, it just happens.
Or one subreddit to ourselves, or one lesbian group to ourselves. I can't even make videos about being a lesbian anymore without being told I'm being transphobic or non-inclusive. So my
because she hasn't made videos about being a lesbian in probably years. This video itself was a year old, and all of her stuff, all over her channel, is literally just being transphobic. And, you know, being transphobic is not talking about being lesbian, even if you mention it in that perspective, if you make that perspective your stick.
Question for you guys is, do you think the future truly is going to be non-binary or gender-free? Will we eventually lose the word lesbian altogether? Personally, I think we already are, but what do you guys think?
Okay, that's pretty much her video, I guess. She actually did have an interesting question at the end. I'm not gonna lie, it was an interesting question. Let me replay it so I can answer it the best I can. Okay, I'm going to address the last question first, actually. I think that lesbian will be a term that stays around for a long time. I know a lot of people that use it, and, you know, that's coming from an anecdotal place, but to me, I feel like it's still a popular term, and I would never see it go away anytime soon. Are we moving to a non-binary and gender-free world? I think that there's maybe some movement in that direction, but I feel like it's still very contained to the queer community, And I think that, you know, it's always been a non-binary world when it comes to gender. People say that it's a binary, and there is, the structures at play assume that there is only a binary gender. So there's definitely, a long ways to go before we have a quote unquote non-binary future or gender-free future. I think gender is going to be around for a very long time, and I think that a majority of society will still be cisgender for a very, very long time, and I don't know if that will even go away. I don't know if it can. Even if every single person in the world kind of adopted and understood that gender is a spectrum, I think there's still going to be a majority of people with penises that identify as a man, and a majority of women with vaginas are going to identify as women. I don't think that's going to change no matter how deep into a discussion about gender that we get. I think that there's a lot of deconstruction that can happen, and I think that there's a lot of ways that our world is set up as a binary in ways that are hurtful to non-binary people and that don't need to be organized in that way. But to answer her question, I think that she's kind of fear-mongering here. I don't think any of these things are going to happen. I don't think gender's going away. I don't think that lesbians are going to disappear. Really, it's pretty obvious what she's doing right here. I've only seen one video, but it's very clearly a right-wing conservative grift, if you want to call it that, of, selling something new as scary and saying that it is harming and, what do you call it? It's like very similar to like Great Replacement, actually, which is really scary. This idea that, your race or your identity is being taken away is a really big fascist talking point, honestly. So it's actually kind of scary to see it here. But also, it's not exclusively a fascist thing. It's kind of just what conservatives have been doing with these moral panics for years and years and years, and probably will never stop, because I don't know, that's what conservatism is. It's a holding up of the status quo, and oftentimes that means demonizing and trying to make new things that threaten the status quo, that threaten their authority and privileges. That's always going to be painted as a negative and scary thing that's happening. So anyway, all right, well, thank you, Arielle Scarcella, I'm sorry, I probably butchered your name, but also, it's okay, you're being transphobic. You're gonna probably dead name me, so, Anyway, I'm gonna dislike this video. Don't go to this video. Don't harass this person. We're just making fun of some dummy on the internet, and we can just leave it at that. I'm just trying to have a little fun here and poke holes in some of the arguments, and hopefully allow you to see through some of the ways that these people will try to push their arguments and push their theories. And when we recognize the formula that they use, and we recognize the ways that they try to approach a lot of these things, we can better deconstruct it and better, come up with arguments that stop this line of thinking, stop this conditioned way of thinking. Anyway, thank you all again. We'll probably try to make a little bit more polished video explaining things and catching y'all up in a while. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Let me know if you have any video suggestions down in the comments. And let me know what you thought of this format. So give me constructive criticism. I will take it. But yeah, like I said, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Have a good rest of your day, and we need a catchphrase. I need a catchphrase to say at the end of these episodes. I'll try to brainstorm that. Give me comments. Give me suggestions in the comments. But for now, yeah, have a good night. It's not nighttime, but have a good night.